Good. All right. I'd like to welcome everyone to the May 25th, 2017 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. And if you all would please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. I'm Jeff Benton, President of the Board. To my left is Gary Merrill, our Vice President. To my right is fellow Commissioner Barb Lewis, our County Administrator Faison Ahmed, and our clerk today is Sarah DeNova. So let's start.
Resolution number 17-546, in the matter of approving the electronic record of the proceedings from regular meeting held May 22nd, 2017.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-546. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We have no public or elected comment today. Resolution number 17-547, in the matter of approving purchase orders, then and now certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CMA PR 0524.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-547. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-548, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-548. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-549, in the matter of recognizing the third week of May as Emergency Medical Services Week.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chief Schuler, Delaware County EMS. Every year, the third week of May has been set aside to recognize the United States' first responders in emergency medical services. Delaware County is no different, and we want to recognize our people as well. I'll be honest with you, throughout the years, this week seems like it has become more of what can EMS do to propagate ourselves as a department in not only Delaware County, but in the state of Ohio. There is no lie to everyone here that Delaware County EMS is a trendsetter and is at the forefront of what EMS is. And I would be remiss to point out that the crews that I have sitting here today, I wish I had more for you guys to see, but they're all busy today, as all out and doing all the other EMS activities for EMS week. Our number one asset in any department within our county is the people that actually do the jobs. And I've always said that my job is to do nothing more than to assure you, the board, that our EMS department is doing what it's supposed to be doing in supporting our employees, our number one asset, because that's truly what EMS is. It has nothing to do with the vehicles or the equipment. It has everything to do with the knowledge, the skill, and the attitude of the paramedics that are out there doing the job. This is a very self-sacrificial job. And what I mean by that is this is a job that is 24/7, 365. The joke in our industry is, what does a paramedic do when they're off? They're paramedics. Unlike any other job that we have, and when I moved to the offices, I became a 40-hour-a-week job, and I kind of laugh and say tongue-in-cheek because as well as everyone sitting in this room, we all have more than 40-hour-a-week jobs. The people sitting next to me, they are 24/7, 365. They live with this. They take it home. They take it to their families. They see some of the most horrific things that are imaginable to man. And I'm in awe of what they do. And at a time when we reflect on saving lives, the hardest part of our job as paramedics is to reflect on the ones that we lost. And this is the week we set aside to look at our people and say, job well done. Thank you for what you have given and the sacrifices you made. And thank you for your continual dedication to the professionalism of this department, because certainly that is what has brought Delaware County EMS to where it is today. I would like, I guess I don't want to recommend that you approve this motion, but I appreciate your recognition of our department and our people and our employees that work here, because they are really what make it happen. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Comments? Thoughts? We do have a resolution. Proclamation. Is that different from a resolution? Yes. Okay. Sounds similar. And I won't read it, but read it in detail. But again, I think on behalf of all of us, we really thank you for all you do. It's good to have a week set aside where we can pause and reflect on the tough jobs you have. You really do have tough jobs, and It's extremely important work. We get probably more feedback from the residents about an EMS activity of one or another that was a very positive experience. So again, you guys do a great job. It's great that we're able to pause and reflect on that, and thank you for all you do. Because like Chief Schuling said, it's not easy. There are moments, I'm sure, that are really, really difficult. So again, we all thank you. If anybody has any other
I'll just make a brief comment. Obviously,
oh yeah.
we're all very appreciative, very supportive, and Chief Schilling said it better than I can say it. And it's not just the county EMS, it's all the first responders throughout our county that we should be acknowledging today. And just for the record, I want to make that statement. They all have the same goal, to serve all the residents of our county to the best of their ability. And thank you very much for what you do and what they do as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Chief Schuling, you said it very well, too, and there's a part of you that, I mean, you can't separate your work from who you are, as so many of us can, but you see the horrific scenes, and that stays with you, and God bless you for what you do.
All right. Well, do you want a picture?
Take a vote.
We can take the vote first.
Okay.
I'm being prompted to take the vote first.
Vote on motion 17-549. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Now we can take a picture.
Now we can do it.
Is that okay if we take a picture now?
Squeeze in. Okay, ready? Oh, there's no one more. All right, very good. Thank you. I'll get it up on social media with that video as well.
They don't want to stay for the exciting part?
I know. Oh, my gosh.
Resolution number 17-550, in the matter of authorizing the use of procurement card for the Department of Job and Family Services.
So move.
Second?
Discussion?
Angela Thomas, Job and Family Services. Shall I just go down the list? First of all, we have the procurement for the department. We have 3 procurement cards that we are requesting. One is for Madison May. She is the administrative assistant to the director. We are also requesting one for Carolyn Morris, and she's the new workforce supervisor. And we're also requesting one for Steve Secor, our new fiscal officer. These procurement cards would be used to make purchases for the department. Could also be used to purchase client needs, such as pay tuition. It could be used to pay for books, that kind of thing, that we need to do online.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 17-550. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-551, in the matter of approving the contract for the purchase of payroll services between the Delaware County Board of County Commissioners, the Delaware County Department of Job and Family Services, and Callis Resource LLC.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
We are in the process of kicking off a Youth Works program, and we solicited some quotes from different providers in the community to provide payroll services. They become the employer of record for these youth and young adults that are going to be going to work, and we felt that Callis offered the best price, and are therefore requesting that we do this contract with Callis to provide that payroll service.
We've not used them before?
Pardon me?
We've not used them before?
Yes, we have.
Oh, we have used them before? Okay.
Yes.
So this is a renewal?
I don't believe we used them last year, but we have used them in the past.
Okay, okay. Were these dollars budgeted?
Actually, they weren't. And what happened is we believed at the time we did the budget that this program would no longer be in existence this year, and that, in fact, wasn't the case. So we are going to follow up here with a request for a supplemental budget.
That's what I thought, too, that it wouldn't be, but that's good that it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, is this in line with what you expected? You know, the 70,000 for...
Yes, we're going to be using a combination of funds for this program. We received some additional TANF dollars from the state, but then we will also be using some CCMEP TANF dollars, and we have a sufficient amount of those funds available for this.
Okay, so Calais is paying these youths?
They will pay the youth.
And so the 70,000 that's being appropriated includes the payroll processing as well as their
As any
compensation?
benefits, correct. It would
And
also include,
Taxes. Taxes.
unemployment benefits and all that kind of thing,
Okay.
so.
Okay.
May I add something, Commissioner? Sure. So they charge a service fee per paycheck per month. So I guess we would be paying them this. We'd have a contract with Calais, and then the paychecks would be coming from Calais for us.
Right. Right. Okay, so that's what I thought. How many kids are you expecting?
Actually, we just recently received several applications. It looks like right now we're looking at about 24 youth and adults, young adults. This goes up to age 24.
You've been pleased with the program?
In the past, yes. And we'll start orientation on this program next week, so we're anticipating, like I said, 24 at this point.
Right.
Okay. All right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-551. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill? Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-552, in the matter of approving the supplemental appropriation for the Job and Family Services Department.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
So we are requesting a supplemental appropriation, most of which will fund this Calais contract and also cover an increase in transportation costs that we are seeing with the Medicaid transportation request. So we're requesting to take $100,000 out of unappropriated funds and appropriate those funds at this time.
These are federal dollars, or?
Yes.
All right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-552. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Angela.
Resolution number 17-553, in the matter of approving supplemental appropriations for the Delaware County Emergency Management Agency.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Sean Miller, Director, Delaware County Emergency Management. This supplemental appropriation is for the Safe Room project at Delaware State Park. This project has been a number of years in process, but we're very near to fruition with it. And this appropriation is for the state funds that are available for this project through the Ohio Emergency Management Agency, as well as the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources has been working very closely with us on this project, and they will maintain and own the structure once complete. That's for a shelter at Delaware State Park Campground, and ODNR has agreed by MOU to chip in up to $120,000 to the project. And so this supplemental appropriation is to reflect that, as well as some additional funding from the Ohio Emergency Management Agency as well.
And we just put one up there a couple of years ago, didn't we?
Well, this is still that same project. It's been quite a long time in process.
It's never been completed yet?
It is not, sir, no. But we are very near entering into a contract with a vendor, and I believe that this will be kicking off in the very near future.
As you recall, I had some reservations about that project.
Yes, sir.
Still do.
Sure.
I don't think it's best use of any one of our funds, but
Well, thanks for your work on this. I know it's been a long time.
Yes,
We've been discussing this a lot.
yes, the EMA board has been discussing it for quite some time.
Yeah.
And part of the delay was trying to figure out the best way, either design, bid, build, or design, build. And ultimately, we determined to go with design, build, and had some discussion with the State Board of Building Appeals and came up with a compromise with them That was the most recent thing that we worked through. They had initially wanted to do a full sprinkler system, but through a compromise, we were able to come up with some middle ground and work through that. So we're now very close to starting, and it's, I believe, will be a good thing.
What's the total cost of this project when you put all the phases together?
The total cost, I believe, will be about $945,000, if memory serves correctly. And every time there is a disaster that is declared, certain federal funds are set aside for mitigation. And mitigation seeks to reduce or eliminate the impacts of certain threats. For the state of Ohio, one of the primary threats that they're looking at is wind events as well as flooding, and so this falls in line with the wind events, and certainly this project had some renewed interest after the tornado which hit Delaware State Park last summer. So mitigation is essentially ways to reduce or eliminate those impacts and looking at vulnerable areas for those projects. And as a little bit of history, we did a similar project for flood mitigation in Scioto Township back in 2011 and 12. And the idea behind that is, number one, buying out flood-prone properties to reduce the burden on the National Flood Insurance Program, which is quasi-publicly funded, and mitigation, generally speaking on the whole, for every public dollar spent, there is a statistic that says $4 are saved over the long run. So we did that mitigation project in the past. Scioto Township now owns 2 properties along State Route 257 along the Scioto River, and so the idea there being that if it floods in the future, it's a field. Number one, no one's in harm's way. Number two, you don't have those costs associated with those repeated flood claims on the National Flood Insurance Program. And number three, the fire department doesn't have to go out and potentially rescue someone during a swift water rescue situation. So those are some of the projects that are eligible for mitigation. And so currently, Scioto Township owns those structures, or not structures, but properties. The structures were demolished, and so if it floods in the future, it's just a field.
Okay. How big a facility is this?
This will be a facility that will hold the anticipated population of the campground, and the diameter of the structure currently being looked at is 75 feet in diameter, and it will be a concrete structure, and it has to withstand certain wind loads. There are building criteria that are established through the federal grant source, building codes that have to be adhered to for that.
All right.
Vote on motion 17-553. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Abstain.
Mr. Bitton?
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
Resolution number 17-554, in the matter of approving the submission of an Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services Specialized Docket Payroll Subsidy Project Funding.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. Joe Perry from Adult Court Services, Chief Probation Officer, Adult Court Services. This is just a grant that goes year to year. It starts fiscal year July 1 through June 30th of 2018. Each amount is $30,000. $30,000 for the mental health docket and $30,000 for our drug court or alcohol docket. So,
Very important docket.
absolutely, it employs some of this money's employee 2 of our officers out of office out of this grant.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-554. Mr. Bitton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-555, in the matter of approving the submission of the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services Specialized Docket Payroll Subsidy Funding, Project Funding, Drug Court Docket.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
As with the mental health docket, there's no upfront fees attached or no match fees for that, for the prior one and for this one also. This is a CCA grants that we've been getting for 2 decades. It rolls over annually. This is the first year they've actually gone to a 2-year grant. So it'll start It's supposed to start July 1st, 2017, and it'll run through June of 2019, 2 years. The negative on this is that the state has reduced 20% funding across the state on these funds. So the amounts that you're seeing, the eligibility amount, you have to cut that in half because it covers a 2-year period. There's no match. And again, this employee's 4 officers out of the office, pays partial salaries for 4 employees. One is our house arrest officer that handles our electronic monitoring, which reduces
I
the...
think you're actually talking about the next resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry, am I getting ahead?
You jumped ahead on us.
I'll just answer questions if you want.
The resolution that we're now approving is the drug court docket
Okay.
grant, the $30,000. And you'd mentioned it in your previous
Right.
comments. I assume there's no further
Right, and
comment
there is
on
no
that one?
match, yeah, there's no match on those.
Okay.
Okay. So let's take a vote on that one.
Vote on motion 17-555. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
All right.
Resolution number 17-556, in matter of authorizing the submitting of an application for a community-based corrections program, non-residential misdemeanor grant for adult court services.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Now, I don't know if you had any other, I was paying attention, so I understand
I
where you're
won't
headed with this
repeat the whole spiel from the beginning.
one.
Again, it's a no-match fund, 20% reduction from what they did last year. And again, in employees, it pays partial salaries of 4 employees out of our office.
Did you expect a 20% reduction? Was that?
No, I just found out about that last Friday.
Okay.
So, yeah. 2 weeks.
This one and the next one both have the same
20% reduction.
same 20% reduction, so. Yeah.
Are you going to be able to pay the salaries for the 4 employees despite the reduction?
Probably going to have to come back and ask for some money. So I'll be at the mercy of you gentlemen. And
Kind of ironic that we're talking about the proposals in the legislature about,
All the other things, the sales tax.
yeah, even with the felony 5s and
Felony
possibly,
Yeah.
reducing the prison population, and then here, the money is cut for probation and,
House Bill 49.
Corrections.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, I don't know why they did that. That doesn't make any sense.
I think a lot of people were shocked by that and taken back. Well, first of all, there's a lot of history behind it. House Bill 49 is intended to reduce prison population by putting the F5s without the ability to go to prison unless they violate
Right,
a period of time.
They'll take it away and get it back.
No, they just
Take
give
it away and take
Take
more
it
away.
away here, then they'll give a little bit of money to the F5s. So,
Not enough.
no, my point is that
Yeah, and then cut it.
Yeah.
They cut it,
it just happens all the time. These grants I find very frustrating
Yeah.
because they're assuming once you start them, you're not going to eliminate whatever your program is, and they're betting that
Yeah.
counties will do
A
that.
lot of times it's a buy-in or it's a startup money, and they expect that the counties will step up and pay the fees after. But again, this is 2 decades the CCA grants have been around. So,
It's been a long-standing grant.
and again, there's a lot of discord getting the state's budget approved, and obviously these funds fall under that. So, I stand here and tell you, they told us 2 weeks ago that's going to be a 20% reduction, and then they turn around and say, but we anticipate that 20% will be added. But just because they say that, I can't count on that happening. I hope it does, but
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you, if this was just proposed in the budget at this point.
Yeah.
it was. And again, but my point is they asked for a 20% reduction, and they're expecting the counties to go back and pick those up. And then I don't know if they'll turn around and say, well, we're going to give 100%. We're going to give that 20% back. Again, with House Bill 49, I would hope that they're not reducing jail population and reducing services
Right.
for counties to
Right.
supervise.
Well,
these
take the
individuals.
20% back and use it to reimburse us over there, and we're no better off. Now we're
And they pooled all the monies together, too. That's the other thing. Again, there's a lot of history. I could stand up here and talk for a while, but they pooled all the monies together now, lumped them in order to make it look like there's a bigger pool, when actually they're taking 3 or 4 different types of funds and put them all together, and it's how they're divvying them out to the CBCFs, the community-based correctional facilities, which is a step down from prisons, so they're taking them out of the prisons, putting them in the CBCFs, and then putting the FIs back to the county's responsibility to supervise, and it causes havoc when they say, then we're going to reduce 20% of your budget too. That, again, it affects at least 4 of my officers that run under this grant every year and have for 2 decades, so
Gee.
the early 90s.
The 184 and this one and the 265 and the next resolution are 2-year figures, or are they?
Right, so you got to divide those in half.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
so
what I thought.
92,000 for one and 132,595 for the other one.
Did they cut both
They did, yes.
grants by 20%?
Yeah, one's a 407, the other one's a 408 grant is what it is, and it's just how the state divides it. I have to follow standards on, they're almost identical standards, but it's 2 different programs.
See.
So if they do reinstate 100% or something above a 20% cut, then you'd be back asking for an adjustment to these
Absolutely.
grants?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it pays salaries, it pays, the majority of it pays salaries, to be honest with you.
Sure.
Pays some of the house arrest fees, and, with the, trying to keep the jail population down, although with the FIs going back, we're going to see
Yeah,
probably more
sure.
of that. But like I said before, house arrest is
Sure.
cheaper than incarceration. It's just
Right.
now you got to supervise. I have an officer that's supervising 30 to 40 of those at one time, and if that increases to 60, one officer can't do that. And we're putting the county in jeopardy, we're putting the citizens.
Right.
And I can't expect one officer to supervise that amount of people with the,
Got to make sure we have enough people.
exactly.
You're right.
So,
All right.
Okay.
Vote on motion 17-556. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-557, in the matter of authorizing the submitting of an application for a community-based corrections program non-residential felony grant for adult court services.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Nothing really to add. Remember, we talked about the same topic.
it's the same
Different.
monies.
Yeah. Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 17-557. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks, Joe. Yeah, good luck.
Resolution number 17-558, in the matter of appointing members to the Delaware County Local Corrections Planning Board.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Jane Hawes, Communications Manager. This is reappointing, really, 2 members, the public at large members, to the County Community Corrections Planning Board, Sai Kile and Mohan Sachdeva, who both served in the last year. A couple of the permanent positions on the committee have changed, and then, as I understand, we need to make it a correction that Commissioner Lewis is serving on the committee now, not Commissioner Merrill. So that will be a change to what is hopefully passed. Any questions?
How often does this group meet, do you know?
I'm sorry?
How often does the group meet?
It's 4 times a year by statute.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were asking Commissioner Benton before, just a sort of description of what it does. Basically, the committee is 1, to represent the local community corrections concerns, 2, to aid in education about community corrections, and 3, to assist the Department of Rehabilitation and Correction in improving community corrections in Ohio in a fiscally responsible manner. So, and as you can see, it's a very large group representing many different facets of the community.
Well, and we've been able to fold in some of the work of Stepping Up also.
Sense.
So part of our discussion deals with Stepping Up program and implementing that. It's not the only facet for Stepping Up, but it's one of the groups, and it's a perfect group, really, because there's so many different people, as you just said, representing, we've got Delaware Police Department, Muni Court, probation, as well as common pleas, the jail, and so it's a good group to discuss Stepping Up with and implementing Stepping Up with, as well as some other programs, faith-based too, representation.
Okay.
Okay. All right, vote.
Vote on motion 17-558. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. Thank you.
Resolution number 17-559, in the matter of approving request for proposals for the CDBG and Revolving Loan Fund Program Administration.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Bob Lamb, Economic Development Director. Thank you for hearing this today. This is a request to release an RFP to look at bringing on a consultant or an expert at managing CDBG funds that come into the county. We want to see how much of a percentage of the CDBG funds that this effort would cost. If we do decide to bring a proposal to pursue it forward, the intent would be to free up staff to be able to concentrate on other economic development efforts that are currently ongoing within the county.
Other jurisdictions are doing...
Yes, many other jurisdictions use this model to help them manage their CDBG funds.
And the funds to pay for this consultant or whomever would come from the grants themselves.
Correct. So it's not an actual cost to the county, but it would reduce the available CDBG funds available for county use.
Sure.
It's taken up a lot of Jenna's
Does take a lot
time,
of time.
I understand.
It requires quite a bit of paperwork to meet the federal guidelines.
Yes, yeah.
And as I indicated in our conversation, the key is making good utilization of Jenna's time elsewhere. So that's the challenge that I would remind and restate. So.
Yes, and we plan on, after reviewing these RFPs and seeing how much we think it will reduce the available fundings from a percentage standpoint most likely, coming back to you with a plan on how we would then be able to capitalize on that additional time.
Okay. All right, we'll take a vote.
Vote on motion 17-559. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Resolution number 17-560, in the matter of approving the sanitary sewer improvement plans for the reserve at Hidden Creek.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Hi, Kelly Thiel with the Regional Sewer District. These plans were reviewed by staff engineer with the sewer district staff, and they're in conformance with our specifications, and our office recommends approval.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 17-560. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 17-561, in the matter of approving the sanitary sewer subdividers agreement for Olentangy Falls, Section 4, Phase B.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
This is our standard agreement language that has been approved by the county prosecutor, and our staff reviewed it and is recommending approval at this time.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 17-561. Mr. Merrill? Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks for coming over.
Thanks, Kelly.
That brings us to administrative reports.
Thank you. Kelly sat very patiently through some long presentations.
Yes, yeah.
A couple of things, Commissioners. On Monday, we had the meeting for the Berkshire Landing Authority, NCA, in which the members of the NCA were briefed on the refinancing of the TIF bonds for Simon Tanger. And just to make sure that everybody's on the same page, and that went quite well. I wanted to compliment Jane. As our visitors yesterday were leaving, one of them turned to me and said that in the month that they've been in the United States, with the plethora of meetings they've had, this was the most organized meeting, and the meeting that they enjoyed the most. So,
Aye.
There we go.
Thank you. Oh, gee.
and last but not the least, Chief Schuling sent me his monthly report. I thought I'd just mention that since this is EMS week. 27 calls to date are 1842, which is 2.6% over similar period last year. Slight increase in population, slight increase in EMS calls. Our response time, average response time is 6.4 minutes. The national average that EMS agencies like to adhere to is about 8 minutes, I believe, so we're doing quite well. So, that's all I have. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I do have one more. The American Heart Association awarded Delaware County EMS with EMS Gold recognition for the treatment of the STEMI treatment, which is in myocardial infarction, which is a type of heart attack. So when people have that type of a heart attack, the treatment has to be provided right there and then in the ambulance, and our people have done it quite well and have received that gold recognition from the American Heart Association. So big shout out to our EMS people. Thank you.
Piling up the awards. Doing a good job. Commissioner Lewis?
Well, I enjoyed the Indian-Pakistani visit yesterday. Very worthwhile, back and forth, a lot of questions, and thank you again, Jane. I thought too. I mean, it was just very nice, and Farzan, you gave a great introduction. You were speaking Pakistani at the beginning?
I greeted them in the traditional Pakistani way, which is Assalamu Alaikum, which is actually not Pakistani, but Muslim.
Okay.
Which is actually the way any Muslim anywhere in the world in any country greet each other, and that basically means, may peace be upon you.
Oh,
And the
okay.
traditional Indian way of greeting is Namaste, which is a word that means I salute you in their language, which is Sanskrit.
Gee, well, thank you. Thank you. So it was a great visit, though, and all the gentlemen were very nice. They had a lot of questions. So it was good. I attended the Bridges Community Action meeting last night. We passed a risk management policy as well as a whistleblower policy. I don't know why they all came at once, but anyway, they did. And so it was a good meeting. The board has been enlarged, and with new counties too. So it's a bigger group now, which is a good thing. That's all.
Good.
Make it real quick. I know we're short on time this morning. Attended the Senator Jordan chaired a committee that the CCO spoke in support of the expansion of the sales tax or the fees or whatever direction we end up going, and the voting machines. And two of our commissioners throughout the state spoke, and I was there in support of that. And thought it went well. Weren't any questions. I'm not sure that's a good sign, but we prefer, I think, to have questions. So hopefully they haven't made up their minds, and hopefully they are entertaining equitable resolution for our counties. So we'll see.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, just a couple other things. This weekend is Memorial Day weekend. Obviously, Monday is Memorial Day. It is to honor our vets who gave the ultimate sacrifice, and so I'd just like to honor them. I will be actually at the Oak Grove celebration or ceremony on Monday. That's at 10 o'clock at Oak Grove Cemetery. The Central Ohio Youth Center is meeting at 4. It's the annual meeting. Regional planning is at 7 this evening. The memorial tournament starts next Thursday. So I'm sure everyone will be watching it on their streaming on their phones and DVRing it that evening so they can go back and watch it again.
Right. Watch it a second time.
So anyway, that's obviously it is a huge deal, second to the jug in the number of people that come into Delaware County. But it is a big event. It starts, actually the pros start coming in on Monday, and they have some practice rounds, and the tournament starts Thursday. There is a leaderboard breakfast I'll be going to, put on by Columbus 2020. That's on Wednesday morning. We've got our Morpsey tour. Commissioner Merrill's been organizing. That's on Thursday, after session later on. And then also, we've been working on the bed tax. Sarah DeNova's been honing her Excel skills and doing a projection. And we do have a projection now of what the bed tax is expected to bring in, and it's about $9.2 million over the 5 years. And that includes the existing hotels plus one new hotel that will be added. And that information has been conveyed to the Fair Board so that they can fine-tune their planning in terms of how much money they're going to expect to get. But I do have schedules if anybody wants to see them. I have copies of that, but again, it ends up being a total of about $9.2 million with small increases, very slight increases in the numbers year by year in percentage increase. So I think it's pretty realistic. And I have learned that they've done a number of things at the fairgrounds already, and they're working on a number of things, and they have a number of things scheduled that they will complete before the fair starts this year. The log cabin is almost done. They've replaced a lot of logs, stain, new HVAC system, and so on. They're going to fix the restrooms under the grandstand, which really need fixing.
Yes, great.
They're going to finish painting under the grandstand, new infield tote board. For those of you who were there last year, it kept going on and off. And so that's a real problem when you don't know how you're betting, and that hurts the revenue of the races. New fence around the track, security cameras. The long-term projects that focus on is a new ag center, and they'll have drawings of the building on display during the fair, but they're thinking a big year-round facility that would be kind of the center of the fairgrounds. They're going to replace a number of the ag barns into 2 bigger barns, nicer new barns, and the horse barns around the tracks. They're going to replace a lot of those. But they're working on a plan. They're going to have that ready, they say, in 1 to 2 months and so they needed that number to be able to understand exactly what they could do.
Sure.
So again, the $9.2 million over 5 years is a lot of investment.
Side note, on the ag building, there's an opportunity, if they get it done in time, and I put Carla in touch with Pat Takeoff to maybe do some more voting at that location, because of some of the locations they've currently been using will not be participating in the future or whatever. So that would be a good location if, in fact, it gets up by next year's election. So it's another use for the facility that...
They're looking at a lot of other, private uses, public uses, renting it, naming rights, and they're looking at a lot of options to provide a good revenue stream so we don't run into this problem 20, 30, 40 years from now, again, where the fairgrounds have deteriorated to the point where they need significant capital investments.
Yes.
So, anyway, that's it for that. We do have need for executive session.
Resolution number 17-562, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of appointment of a public employee or public official for pending or imminent litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 17-562. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye. All right, we're in executive session.